I am so excited for you guys to meet our special guest today, Shari Williamson. Shari is from Rolling Acres Education. She actually has her own YouTube channel for TPT sellers, but she's been a member of Rebranded Teacher Academy pretty much since the beginning of her TPT journey. And she has just a really incredible story, a story of both success on TPT, but also of how she's able to make things happen under some difficult circumstances. I think there are so many people who are going to be able to resonate with her story today, and I cannot wait for you guys to meet her. Here's Shari. Hey Shari, how are you?
Doing great. Very excited to be here.
I'm
Excited.
I'm so excited to have you here. I feel like we've talked about having you here a couple of times, and it's finally happening. You're here. You have a really unique TPT journey, and I think I say unique, but I think there are a lot of people who are listening today who are going to be able to identify with your journey for many reasons. But I've known you pretty much since the start, right?
Oh, very much.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because you joined RTA, what was it, like 2 years ago? Was that when it
Uh,
all this started?
July of 2021. I was in
2021.
that really small group. We had a really,
Yeah.
really small group
Yeah. Back when RTA was like a coaching call, like
membership.
coaching
Right.
slash,
That,
yeah.
yeah, of course.
So I've known you for a long time and you just have a really great story. And I'm so glad for you to be here and to be sharing it today. Do you want to start by just telling everybody a little bit about yourself, your TPT journey, and kind of what led you to start selling on TPT?
Okay, well, I feel like I'm the if I can do it, anybody can do it story because, first of all, I'm old. I I have little tech skills and I had no graphic design skills whatsoever. And I feel like I kind of came in through the back door. Most of the stories I've heard, teachers were in the classroom and oh, there's this place I can sell my resources. They start selling their resources, they start making money, and then they make the decision to possibly leave the classroom. I was already out of the classroom, not by choice. I got one of those phone calls in May of 2020 that my son's girlfriend had been in a car wreck and she was 33 weeks pregnant with my granddaughter. And it was not a good situation. They should have life flighted her, but for some reason they didn't. So she was 7 weeks early. She went 2.5 hours without sufficient oxygen and some other issues. And so a week later, I found myself the guardian of a newborn child with what they believed were going to be severe special needs and a 2-year-old. And so at the time, it was during the pandemic, so I was not working. So it started out, okay, Emma spent the first month in the hospital and I went there every day to see her. And this was a big change for me because I had gone from getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning, working out, getting dressed, teaching with VIP Kid from 5 to 7, driving to school, working all day, staying late at night, working on the weekends, working VIP on the weekends, and just really, somebody probably needs to hear this, but really being foolish. Really being foolish. There was no need in that. And it was, I really confessed this before, but I look back now and think it's probably just a big ego thing, and spending way too much time in school, running relationships. And it was like, boom, all of a sudden here I am doing nothing but sitting in the hospital with this baby and just praying to God she's going to be okay and try not to get emotional. It was a really rough time. I mean, they told us she had 75% chance of having cerebral palsy. She may not see, she may not hear, she may not walk, she may not eat. I mean, she may not do anything. But spoiler alert, a lot of people praying for her, and she's amazing. But she really is. She's, that event changed my life probably more than anything. Going from empty nester to having 2 small children to not working to praying to God, that I don't care about anything, just let my grandbaby be okay. And she has mild cerebral palsy. But for the first 8 months of her life, we tried to work with my son and his wife and my daughter and her son. And it just got to the point where, Emma needs full-time care. She needs someone with her all the time, getting her one time we had 5 appointments in 3 days. One time we had 8 appointments over a period of a week, and it was just too much. And so I left the classroom.
Yeah.
And had my VIP income, and that was it. And so I was desperate. And so this was in February, and I joined a membership, and it was a great membership, but for me, it was overwhelming. You got to remember, I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about how to create. I mean, I had created my own resources in class, but that's very different from creating them to sell to someone.
Yeah.
And I had, I just didn't feel like I knew what I was doing. And so I was really overwhelmed. There was just a lot of stuff in this one membership. And so I found you. I don't know what it was, but just something about you resonated with me. And so in June, I emailed you and I asked you, is this course pretty much just going to be about TPT and focused on TPT? And you said yes. So with no money, I went ahead and purchased the course. And as they say, the rest is history. You asked in the thing about a turning point, and I don't think I've ever even told you this before, but I signed up in June and sent you the money, and Emma was the next day diagnosed failure to thrive. So we were already going to PT twice a week, PT and OT, and now we're going to feeding therapy twice a week. She couldn't drink more than 2 ounces at a time. She wouldn't eat. It was a full-time job getting her to eat. And I came this close to emailing you and saying, look, this is just bad timing. Can I get a refund? And I made a decision right there that no, it's not, you're going to have that money may make a little bit of difference right now, but this investment can make a huge difference in your life. And I didn't really get to participate a lot, but I was at every single live. I listened, I took notes while I was feeding Emma, and I didn't really get to participate and do the things, but I learned. And so when I did finally open my store in September, I felt ready to go. Finally uploaded a resource that took me 10 years. It felt like 10 years to make. I just never looked back. And I guess, desperation. I had to make it work. And it was just something I had to do. And just that moment that I thought, you know what, it's time for you to invest in this. You've got to do something. This is what you feel like you're led to do. Just do it. And so I didn't email you, and I just went through with it because you're such a sweet person. You probably would have refunded it. and so since then, I was right at the end of our course was when you started the membership, and I just went straight into that. And it has made the difference, I believe.
Yeah. Well, you're saying the course made it. To me, I'm hearing you're determined, you were going to do whatever it took to make this a success. And I really feel like with or without RTA, you would have made this happen because you're just a very strong, determined grandma who is taking care of business, And so I definitely think that all of your success is just due to the sheer amount of hard work and effort that you put into this. And you put so much. And one of the things that I wanted people to hear about your story is something that you put it in the form that there's a little questionnaire that, people fill out before they come on the podcast. And one of the things that you had said was, I haven't done any marketing. And I think that's, people hear, because you've hit the first milestone, which is incredible. And I think a lot of people hear all of the work and they hear all of the effort that goes into it, but they think that they have to do a lot of different things. And while absolutely, I'm definitely one of the people that recommends get started on your marketing, That was one thing that you didn't do that I probably have been on to you several times. You need to get doing this email marketing, right? But it's worked for you and you found something that worked for you. Talk to me a little bit about that decision to say, I'm just going to focus on these things for right now. What did that look like in your TPT business? What did that mean for you to say, I'm just going to focus on these things?
Okay, so, and you got to remember, all this was a big learning curve for me. I didn't even know there was a such thing. I knew there was email, but I didn't even know what an email list was. Never even heard of it. Pinterest was just something that I looked at. I had a personal Instagram, a personal Facebook. And so I got into that first membership and I was trying to learn all this stuff. And I was just so overwhelmed. Actually, you talked about being laser focused. And I want to say clearly, there's two things I don't ever want to see. I don't want to ever see anybody not start a business, their TPT business, because they think they have to market. But I don't want to ever see anybody give up on the idea of marketing, because no matter how much money I make, I'd be making more if I was marketing, But for me, it was such a big learning curve that just making the resources was really stressful for me. I enjoy it, but it was my first resource has been redone probably 6 or 7 times because it was. And let me give you some encouragement here. It was really bad, and I sold it and got a 5-star review on it. So, people are generous, And so I just concentrated on resources. And I also was doing holiday resources, and so it was constant. I would get one done, and I'd have to get the next one done, and have to get the next one. And I think that one of the things is my niche. I have a high awareness. Everybody knows about subplans. Everybody knows about holiday resources. I have a large target audience. There are a lot of people looking for subplans. There are a lot of people looking for holiday resources. There's a lot of things there's all kinds of science resources I can do, and all kinds of subplans. And high school, middle school are not as competitive. So I think that's helped also, that people are looking for the kind of resources I have. And I do think, best practices. you can tell people my covers were horrible in the beginning. When I named my first resource The Perfect Halloween, nobody's looking for the perfect Halloween. When I say I don't know what I was doing, I didn't know what I was doing. And I think you can learn everything you need to learn off of, YouTube and podcasts and all that. But the learning curve is so much bigger. And for me, I need step by step. I need sequential. Do this and then do this, and this is how you do it. And so it was just too much for me to try to learn to make resources and try to do an email list. But I do have one. I have 16 people on it.
Yes, I love that.
I am marketing. I feel like I'm making a livable amount now. Like I am making enough that if I had to, I could live on my TPT. So since my resources are bringing in enough, then I feel like I can start. And that is another thing probably, is that I needed to be making money. And if the resources is what was getting me money, then that's what I needed to keep doing, because I was dependent. Because I had the VIP income, but in November of 2021, we all got fired by the Chinese government, and that was gone. So it was I just felt like that's what was going to bring me the money at the moment.
Yeah. And I think that there's, I've talked about it many times, focusing on it. In fact, that very first coaching group / course that you were in, it was like the 6 month program for people who aren't familiar. And we would take it like 1 month at a time. 1 month we were focusing on this, the next month we were focusing on that. And one of the things that I've always said is like, focus on the product creation, then focus on optimizing those product listings, focus on analyzing the data, then do your marketing after that. Like focus on that one thing at a time. And it doesn't necessarily mean, for some people it's, I'm going to do product creation for a couple of months. I'm going to get those products listed. Then I'm going to make sure those products are optimized, or go back and optimize older resources. And then I'm going to focus on expanding my marketing for a few months. And everything happens in pretty short order. But for other people, and I think it's important for listeners to hear this, for other people, it might be a really lengthy period of time. It might be that you're stocking your store shelves for a year, 2 years, whatever it takes to really hone your skills, which I believe you've really done. Like you've really kind of mastered this. You figured out what the market wanted. You started to create more of that. You stocked your shelves. Like you said, you have a lot of seasonal resources. So with things that can be used year round. And then now you're like, okay, I'm kind of ready to start the marketing. And that's fine. It doesn't have to be an immediate or within a few months you get started on that. So I love that you knew that about yourself. Like you knew, if I take too much on, or if I take too many things on, it's not going to be doable, right? So just kind of focusing on those things that were making you money, and the things that you could master first, like the primary things first. What would you say has been the biggest struggle or hurdle in growing your TPT business? Just getting that income in within a short period of time. I mean, time probably has been the biggest thing, but like, what would you say?
I always say the best thing about running your own business is being your own boss, but the worst thing about running your own business is being your own boss, because nobody's going to make you do that. And I always tell people, if you want to hear my number one advice, is work when you don't feel like it. You have to set, and I don't mean that you can't ever relax or you can't ever sit and binge Netflix, but I think you need to set times. This is when I'm going to work. I'm going to work at this time, and then nothing stops you unless, it has to be something really big. And I took this seriously, that, okay, these are the times I'm going to work. And I'm not going to say I didn't ever fail for that, but there were so many times that I did not want to turn off Netflix. I did not want to get out of bed. I want to be out in the sun. I love the sun. The beach, the sun, that's just my thing. And it's sacrifice. I'm not going to sit here and, it seems like, $20,000 in 2 years is kind of fast. But for me, it was a lot of hard work, and it was a long time. It's not easy. And I think that's because no matter how good your skills are, no matter how great your mindset is, no matter how great any of that stuff is, if you're not actually doing the work, you're not going to make any money. And so that's, that to me was, I guess for me, it was just sheer determination. It was like, okay, this is not selling. Why? And bless your heart, I don't know how many cover revisions we went through before I finally got it. It was like, oh my gosh, Shari, you finally got it, And so, but I didn't quit, I didn't give up. And when they changed this and changed that, and, I was ranked number one on all these things on the first page at the top. And then all of a sudden they changed the search bar, and now I can't even find myself. And I knew something you said to me was, and that sticks with me all the time, is, Shari, there's always a way. There is always a way. And that's, whenever I get frustrated, I always say that, and I say that to other people, there's always a way. there's a way. If you're determined, you will find a way. So, my story is determination. It's just gonna happen. This is what I want. A lot of people talk about knowing your why. I talk about knowing why you want TPT, not just why do you want to have your own business, because you'll be chasing shiny objects. If you get frustrated with one thing, you go to another. And I knew that TPT was what I wanted because it gave me flexibility. I was able to work around my schedule with the girls. I enjoy it, and so I think it's important to not just know why you want to have your own business, but why do you want it to be TPT? Why do you want TPT to be the thing that you are using, so that when they do get frustrated, you don't just want to quit and move on to something else, that you've got to stick with it.
Absolutely. And probably very few people in the world have as many hurdles and obstacles when, as what you had when you were starting your business, with all the time restraints and having two young kids and like lots of different focuses and lots of different, people and legitimate needs pulling you in different directions. And for you to still be able to say, or for you to still tell yourself like, no, I'm going to work, like I'm going to do this. I'm going to find a way to make this happen. I think that's, this isn't the case for everybody, but I know for me and, probably for many people who are listening, it's kind of the kick in the seat of the pants that you need sometimes, is to just have somebody tell you, or for you to tell yourself like, no, this is what you're going to do. Like, this is the outcome that you want. This is what it's going to take to get there. And so you're going to have to do that thing. With that, in the beginning, obviously, I'm sure things were ticking off pretty slowly. Like it was kind of some slow growth in the beginning. What do you think has been the biggest game changer for you in your TPT business in terms of where you turn the corner and you're like, okay, I see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is going to happen. Like, it's working.
I think when my evergreen resources started kicking in, because, seasonal resources, it's like a horrible roller coaster. It's like, a few days before you start going up, and then like, I know my first $100 day was St. Patrick's Day. And the day before I made like $70. The day of St. Patrick's Day, I made 100. The next 2 days I made 0. So it's like, you're like, whoa. And then you're like, oh, I'm never going to sell another resource. But when my evergreen resources started kicking in, and that's why, I don't know if anybody does just seasonal, but boy, if you do just seasonal, you can really drive yourself crazy. It's probably good to have an evergreen also. And so my sub plans is when I really started. And I love my seasonal resources and they make me money, but my side sub plans are what's really, really starting to take off now. And making bundles, oh my gosh, I did not know how easy it was to make. This is embarrassing. I went a whole year without making bundles because I thought you had to do all the work. Like you had to, and I went to make one, I was like, choose your resources. I'm like, what? And it was just so easy. And I thought, oh, you dummy. And then that, when I started selling, because I thought nobody's going to spend this much money on and they do.
Yeah.
So make those bundles. It's easy. TPT does most of the work.
I love that. Tell me about your work routine. What does it look like these days? When do you typically fit TPT work in? What does that look like for you? What does your schedule look like?
Okay, so I just started kind of not really back in the classroom, but I am currently giving childcare and homeschooling for my grandchildren, ages 4 months to 5 years. And so I get up, I'm an early riser. I know this isn't for everybody, but I get up, I'm always up by 5. I get up, make my bed, work out. I think that's so important. I think having a routine and getting sleep and working out, having some kind of movement. And then I work for about an hour before the girls get up. I usually do updating things that don't take long. And then I do have a VA, and that has helped. I have my niece, and my sister helps out a little bit. She does things for me. And then I work a couple hours in the evening, and then I work a lot on the weekends. Saturday is my big day. And I want to say, oh my gosh, join a co-working group. Join a co-working group. I did go back to school for just a little bit, back in the classroom. It was a horrible, horrible experience. Story for another time. But I had no planning period. So I had to do all my work at home, and I still got work done because of the co-working groups, because I had those times that I was committed to be there, and I hosted them, so I had to be there, and that made to me all the difference in the world. Accountability. I love your membership, but if there were 3 things if I only got 3 things from it, I'd still pay for it. And that's the co-working, the challenges, and the accountability. Those 3 things really make it. Everything else is just, to me, icing on the cake. It's just extra. I would pay for that co-working and those challenges if it was nothing else.
Yeah. I show up for, I have a 6 a.m. co-working group that meets, and, several times I've thought, like, why don't you just drop that, Lauren? Like, why don't you just pass it on to somebody else? But it's such a kick in the seat of the pants to be like, no, like this is when I'm going to do my email marketing. Like this is when I sit, this is when I write my emails for the week. And getting that done, like in that, for me, first thing Monday morning, like it's done before my workday would even typically start. And so I totally resonate with what you're saying on that. Those co-working sessions, I think they're so underestimated. And even if you're not in a membership that has co-working, like RTA has several different co-working sessions that are available. But even if you're not, like find other TPT sellers who can meet at the same time that you can. Start a little group, like get something together, meet on Zoom. It's so helpful for those times when you really just don't feel like it. And then you show up, you see everybody there, and you're like, you want to work. You want to work. Love that.
That is so true. And I think one thing that may be overlooked is the camaraderie, because you don't have coworkers when you're doing this, and it can be very lonely. And I look so forward to Saturday mornings. I tell people that those are my coworkers, and that's something that is also a big help, is the camaraderie and the working together.
Yes, it's worth joining RTA. Not that this is a whole plug for RTA, but it's worth joining RTA just to be in Shari's co-working groups on Saturday morning, because everyone loves your group. Everyone loves your co-working groups.
Oh, we have it. And one morning we had 5 people, and we were all from 5 different countries.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah. So
if you could only do 3 things for your business, what 3 things would you choose? And what would you ditch that you're currently doing now? What would you just get rid of and be like, I'm not going to do that anymore. It's not serving me.
Well, this is a little different for me because I'm not doing a lot. But one thing and you're going to amen this, is niching down. I mean, I have too many different types. Like I have seasonal, if I had to say one thing, I do independent work packets, but I do holiday K through 12. And I have some individual, like some 4th grade and some 1st grade. So I quit all that. I'm concentrated. I've got high school resources for all the holidays. So now I am focused on my middle school science sub-plans. So I quit trying to be all things to all people and just really niche down on that. So definitely niching down, and then start my email list. I know that's important, and I want to do that. So I'm going to start a Facebook group, because I would like to have a Facebook group where we could do some co-working for people, because I do think that's the number one reason people quit, is they just can't commit to a time and a place. And when you have that time and place every week, then it's easier to commit to it, and other people expecting you to show up. So I don't know if that really answered your question. Or not,
yeah. So you would pick sticking with that current niche and stop creating all of the other resources outside of that one focused niche. You would continue to do co-working sessions, and there was probably a third one in there, and I'm probably email. That's right. So those 3 things.
I'm just not into all the Instagram, and I mean, I may someday, but that's just the Instagram and TikTok and all that. That's just not my thing.
I'm not either. It's just too much. It's a little too much for me. You have to have a certain maybe personality or energy to be able to keep it. To me, it's like I can't do that all the time. Also, I don't want to put makeup on all the time. So that's the kind of lifestyle I prefer, where you really don't even have to think about it for a very long time. Well, let's do some fun questions, Shari. What's your favorite podcast?
Okay, so I really don't listen to podcasts. I watch you on YouTube, but I'm going to have to, because my daughter just started her own podcast. She's a doula, and they're doing the joy of birth.
Ooh.
And really supporting all mothers in all types of birthing situations. And she teaches a birth class. So she just started a podcast. So I'm going to have to start listening to podcasts. Yeah. But I'm more of a YouTube and audio book. I listen to audiobooks all the time. I'm really obsessed with Rebranded Teacher right now, High Performance Habits.
Okay.
And I'm reading and listening to Making Your Story Brand. Is that the name of it? But yeah, I am a big habits and routine person. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks on that kind of thing. But I don't know. I've just never really gotten into podcasts, but I watch you on YouTube all the time.
Yeah, I got an email the other day that I have 11 credits, I think it was, from Audible. I didn't even realize I was signed up for Audible, so I might have to download some of those books before those expire. Favorite way to relax?
Laying in the sun, floating in the pool, anything that has to do with the sun and water. I'm a beach person.
Love it. Favorite show to binge watch currently?
Currently, I just got finished binge watching Virgin River, and I also loved. I am horrible about Once Upon a Time. I watch it and say, okay, this is the last time I'm ever watching it. Before I know it, I'm watching it again. I love Once Upon a Time and Manifest. Those are the last. I really don't watch a lot of TV. I don't have time. So what I do is I save up, and I'm like, okay, Manifest is going to be out. I got to save up time for that. And then when Virgin River, I was like, okay, I got to save up time for. And I'm always like, I'm not going to watch it all at one time. I always watch it all at one time. But yeah, so.
I love that. You're handed a gift card to your favorite restaurant. Where are you going and what are you ordering?
I don't know. It'd be Italian or Mexican. I don't know, it's Gondolier here. I don't know if that's like a national chain. We have a Gondolier. And then we have this little family place we go to, El Paraiso's. It's a little Mexican food, and I love it. So I love Mexican and Italian are my two favorite foods.
Love it. Love it. But what's next for you and your business?
Okay, so this really haven't said much about this, but I am working on a course. What I'm wanting to do is it'll be TPT, but it'll be like very basic, like just getting started and time and building it with time management. I've already started working on it. I've already got everything kind of laid out, but I'm a horrible perfectionist, and I'm bad about not just going ahead and doing something because I want to get it perfect. But what I really want to do, if somebody says something about me, I hope they would say that I make it doable, that I make it look like I can do this. And so I really want to do a course, but kind of marry it with time management and finding a way to a place and a time to get it done. And so I'm probably going to start a Facebook group here pretty quickly because I want to try to give support to people because I just really think that's the biggest thing I see is people just can't find time and they just give up. And I think if they could just commit and just, stick to it, that they could see their business really take off. And I do have a YouTube channel. I've neglected recently, but I've already been recording some videos this morning. I'm going to start releasing again next week. So
tell us about your YouTube channel. Where can listeners find you?
It's rollingacres.com. And I do TPT help, and I am going to try to start focusing more on just helping people find a way to get it done. And I talked to you about, I would love for you to be on I know you do the 5-hour work week. I'd like to have you talk about that sometime and just have people on and share their experiences. How do you make this work? How do you make it work? I think that's what a lot of people really need to hear is how can I make this fit?
I love that.
And I hear trial and error, but
I hear a lot of great things about your YouTube channel. There are a lot of people in RTA who are like, oh yeah, I love your YouTube video, Shari. So definitely check Shari out on YouTube and connect with her. She's a really great resource and just a phenomenal human being. So I know that you'll enjoy her. Thanks so much for being here, Shari. And I'm excited for your course.
Thank you for asking me.
Yeah, excited for your course, excited for all the things that are going to be taking place in your business, and excited to see where your business is going to be in the next year or so.
Thank you. And if you don't want to plug I will. I'm just telling you, I love RTA. You get so much value for the money. It's. I don't know when you're opening it up again, but yeah, I love it. It's really made a difference.
You're sweet. End of December, early January. It'll plug after this. It'll be in the outro. It'll plug after this. But thanks for sharing that. And I'm really grateful there to have you. And there are so many others like you who are just incredible people. I always say think that we have the best of the best in RTA. They're like the best human beings. Yes. They're so incredible. Well, thanks so much for being here. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks so much for being here. As we mentioned, the Rebranded Teacher Academy is going to be opening up at the very end of December, the 1st of January. If you want to get in, you have to be on the waitlist. It's only opening to people who are on the waitlist. So you're going to want to go to therebrandedteacher.com. That's therebrandedteacher.com and enter in your name and email address and make sure that you are on that waitlist so that you get notified when it opens back up, because it will not open up for a very long time. We're expecting a new little one at the beginning of next year, and I won't be opening it up for a while after that for reasons that I probably don't have to explain to you guys. Thanks so much for being here. I put out weekly content for TPT sellers to help you grow your businesses in a way that's purposeful and sustainable. Be sure to share it with a friend, tell somebody about it, share about it on social media. We love word of mouth, and I'm so thankful for every single one of you who share this with your friends. And I'm going to see you guys right back here next week.